What up, guys? I'm Pope, and this is my bro JT, and welcome to Crooked Paths. I would say probably our best attempt at putting together anything that could ever resemble a podcast.
For sure. We want to thank you guys for being a part of this journey with us. We hope that this space can provide you with a little bit of encouragement, and if you're able to connect the dots between our scattered thoughts, perhaps even find a little bit of inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. We want to thank Kyle Brown and KEB Corporation for all their support in this and providing us the opportunity and the platform. They're on all social media outlets. Like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever you need to do. Keep you informed with KEB Corporation and everything they have going on.
That's right. We're going to talk a lot about our life, what we're learning about our lives, and how we're trying to operate as human beings moving forward. One thing that's for sure is it's never going to be a straight line.
No, sir. It's always crooked.
It's always crooked. And we're back.
Yes, sir.
It's good to be back.
What's it, episode 4 now?
Episode 4.
Dang, that's crazy. You know what? What I've really recognized is like people think, oh man, these podcasters, these people over here, they have it all, man. It's so easy. This ain't easy, man.
Nah, it's definitely
This is like, especially like working around like a recording schedule and like your life things that you've got
just
to
trying
get
to figure
done,
things out,
and then you
sitting
have
down,
family
taking the
obligations.
time.
Exactly, dude. So like it's
It's
I
been
have
a
whole
process.
new respect. It's like when I had really long hair and like how long it took me to get ready and like, brushing it and like the blow dryer was like the greatest invention of all time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But all that my experience with that, once I cut off my hair and everything and like, showers were quicker.
Appreciation for the time it takes.
Women, the time it takes women to get ready to be beautiful.
Like my hair could be wet like all day.
Exactly.
If I'd like didn't.
Dude, I'm telling you, whole new respect. So all that to say, whole new respect for what it takes to have something like this.
Sit down, put on a podcast.
Yeah, and get
the
it
quality
going.
of, for putting together something that's of decent quality. I'm not going to say because we're doing it, it's a quality thing.
No way, man. It's all learning, but it's been fun, man. I'm telling you, I can't even believe, we're getting towards the end of a season. Just that we've spent enough time. I mean, we already mentioned last episode that we had already had to re-record. So like, there's been a lot.
Yes, it's been a
lot of stuff, but it's been
like even right now, I can't get one of the like videos to show up on one of the computers and one of the hard drives not to show up on my other computer. I'm just like, I'll Google it later. I guess just deal with it after the fact. But yeah, it's cool because this entire time we've been talking about ownership and kind of our recognition of how we desire to take ownership of our lives, to write our own story, to combat our hypocrisy, to live in an authentic fashion. And it starts in the mind. We visualize our goals, we set our vision, and we operate through a certain mental paradigm. Mm-hmm. And then we talked last time about gratitude and how for me, gratitude is the fuel that keeps me going, that reminds me to stay focused on where I want my vision to be and those types of things. And, episode 4 almost this is the most critical component of it all because the biggest aspect of combating your hypocrisy is the action.
Mm-hmm. The actual battle.
The actual implementation of doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard.
It's waking up every day and deciding you're going to do what you can to be the best version of yourself going forward.
Because you define that for yourself.
Well, and like you said, we've already talked about it. You've probably at this point spent some time to kind of figure out what it is that you want in your day. I know we definitely have.
Yeah,
I'm speaking as you, maybe from the people who are listening, or the crickets who might be. But either way, I'm just saying, like, at this point, people have been like, okay, how I'm looking at things, my vision, that's important. Right. And then now it looks into, I think we're going to really talk about, you said the actions, but like what you can control in terms of action.
Yeah.
That's like key.
Determining what you can control will allow for you to focus on what's in your control. Mm-hmm. And thus you're staying present in the moment. You can control this. So you respond differently. So in the moment, knowing what you can control allows you to authentically operate in that ownership.
Well, it helps you, right? It helps you not get bogged down by the things that are completely out of control. Perfect example. Man, I'm sitting there. My experience with sports and with competitive sports and with referees, even watching it on TV, has not been great. I call them out. I can be.
If you're a former referee for anything, that
apologies. I've been mean.
Nasty.
And as I've gotten older, hopefully not nasty. Maybe in my youth I was. Yeah, I know.
In my youth.
Yeah.
You're so old now.
But you know what I'm saying? Anyways, so I've had a past of not doing well when it came to like criticizing them in their job and what they have to do. As I've, especially over the last year and now that I'm in coaching, right?
Okay.
I've got to be an example. I don't want to be that hothead who's just kind of going off
Right.
or whatever. Plus, ultimately, I've realized going off on them don't really do nothing for you.
The call doesn't change.
Exactly. The call doesn't change. And now they're like, yo, this little punk, like,
Yeah.
he
I don't
ain't
like
getting
him, so I'm going to call
so then
Holding
now
right
you might
now.
actually,
Yeah.
exactly. So I told myself, we had a little tournament last week, and there were a couple calls that were absolutely like, just borderline, but they're tough. And but like, I mean, this is just a ragtag group of referees that were hired for a summer passing league tournament. You know what I mean? Like these
Right.
aren't SEC level, NFL level.
easy,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, like these are just people, right? Well, even
We're all
then, they're
just
all just
people.
people. But anyways, couple calls happen. People on our sideline start getting frustrated. You know, blah blah blah. You hear people barking, all that kind of stuff. And all I kept repeating was, "That's tough. Let's go. Hey, we still got another play. We got 2 more downs to get a touchdown here. We have to do it." You know, I tried to immediately move the focus off of, okay, yes, that was
It
tough
didn't go your
in
way.
that moment, but we can control these next 2 plays. It's like, man, jump to another example, playing golf, right? With Trav. He was telling me he used to get so frustrated with how bad he was hitting off the tee box that his second, third, fourth, fifth shot, whatever followed, suffered because he was so upset with himself. When he just let go, all right, past is done. Cannot control anything that has now happened in the past. Moving forward, where can I be? So it's just being able to recognize, like, all right, now it's out of my control. I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on the here now, and I'm going to change in the here now and be better in the here now. And I mean, I think that's ultimately where it is. Like, past, present, future, even in the present, you can only control so much, right? What we talk about, attitude and effort.
Response, attitude, and
Response,
effort.
attitude, and
Those
effort.
are my 3.
So,
And
like-
I've had to keep it simple because if I keep it simple,
Man.
it's I don't have to focus on much
It's
more.
like, it's funny because we talked about, we see life at a deeper level, but yet we also, it's like things are very, very simple when it comes to, like, I don't want to say success, but in terms of like growth, like they're very simple.
there are
Like,
things you need to
action
do.
is a very simple concept.
Right, but the
The
actual
implementation of it is
the
like
action
is where
difficult.
where it gets tough.
Yeah.
Because we got this quote over here that y'all can't see, but it says how you plan on getting swole if you'll never get sore.
Shout out Andy Mineo.
But I mean, just like the whole idea of
if you're not
you're
gonna put the
going to
work
get
in,
sore,
yeah.
you know. So like, you know, it's funny. So the control is everything, because we live in a world where it's almost like we got white knuckles. We are trying to control every single thing, trying to control our family and how they would respond.
The moment in time that we're in.
Exactly. When like literally there may be 3 things you can control.
That's why I've
I mean, you
limited-
can't even control your breath. Like that's just like a thing that your body does. Because if you were in charge of that, we'd forget to do that.
Yep.
And we'd be passed out laying on the floor. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, even things like that essential are
Right.
out of our control. I mean, we can control. I can take a deep breath in if I need to right now, you know, things like that. Sometimes I need to do
You
that.
said deep breath and it made me take a deep
Exactly.
breath.
But
That was
you know,
weird.
it's interesting, you know, because for me specifically growing up and now, you know, moving into this new decade, for so long I wanted to control, especially in this like one situation.
be
I
in
learned about
control.
control.
Yeah.
And I learned like, hey, when things are going well, you can think that you have more control over things than you actually do. And then all of a sudden they don't. And like what I've learned the most throughout control and anything like that, and it's hard, but you cannot control other people.
You can't.
And you have to remind yourself that you cannot control other people. We go through relationships with people, and it gets to a point where maybe they decide something different, and
Or you decide
or
something
you decide something different, and you look back at it, and maybe there are things that you could have done better, everything like that, or they could have done better, but you can't control what people are going to put into it.
No, you can't. All you can do is, and for me, again, all I can control my response, my responses, my attitude, and my effort. I want to respond in a way that doesn't dehumanize people. I have the ability to control how I respond. Doesn't mean that I always respond in a way that I want to, but I have to stay present,
Right.
tying back into staying present in that mindset. I have to stay present in order to recognize that I can dictate how I want to respond.
Well, and if you allow your emotion to take over, like for this, like in the case of this referee, I could have gone in on this referee about how horrible of a call that was, blah, blah, blah. How can you even make that call? You're on the other side
Next
of the
thing you know, I
field.
devalue the human
Exactly.
just because I'm frustrated with something not going my way.
And then in the position that I'm in, I've got people who are looking at me, watching me devalue someone. What are they learning?
Yeah,
So
that's what
I
they
am
do.
teaching the thing that I don't like the most, and so I have to be mindful. And now I'm being more mindful to be better. Hey, that is tough. Tough things happen that are out of our control. Let's move forward.
Yeah. So my response and then my attitude. I'm the only person that can control my attitude. I don't have to necessarily like everything that I'm doing, but I can control the type of attitude that I bring
Sure.
to whatever it is that I'm trying to do.
agree.
And I also believe that for what I'm trying to build in my life, if I carry a certain type of attitude, regardless of the circumstance, it's going to continue to propel me forward. So ultimately, the response, attitude, and effort, those things I'm wanting to propel me forward in my path to ownership, in the combating of my hypocrisy. So I control my response. I respond in a specific type of way, not because every situation requires a specific response, but I want to respond in a humanizing way. Well, I want my attitude to be something that propels me forward, and then I don't ever want anyone to question my effort.
Right. Right, exactly. I mean, that's key. And I think it's important because we talk about how action is the most important.
Right.
And it can happen at any phase of the growth that you want. You can always be active. I talk about being active. Like that's how we
can
have
just
to
choose to be active in this moment. And then
but now, as you spend time with your mindset and choosing what lens you're going through, and then like recognizing that you are in control, like my only enemy is me, and to be your biggest asset and to move forward, when you start taking control of that, now the action that you've already been used to just being active, now you can implement what you've learned. And now it's like, I don't want to say wise action or something like that. Like their action can always be there. And so the more you hone in, like your response, you're not allowing your emotions to jump. Like, hey, even if I was angry at that call, I'm not like, I've done enough work on my mindset, the lens, and things like that I'm not jumping to this level.
But my anger doesn't have to look like what I think anger has to look like either. So, and that, again, that comes part to just that spending time with yourself. It all ties back into you doing the things that you need to do on a daily basis. So control. You always say like control is an illusion. Control the controllables.
Solve for happy, man. I quote it like literally all the time, but yes.
Determine what it is that you believe you can control in your life and control them. And if you cannot control it, I try to give myself 5 minutes if I can't control it. Give yourself 5 minutes to feel the feels. And it doesn't mean that later on I don't do more to kind of like emote in the healthy way or whatever. But give myself 5 minutes to be frustrated by it. But if I can't control it, it does not take my focus away from what I'm trying to do. It does not distract me from where I'm trying to go. It doesn't derail my actions.
That second, that third, that fourth shot isn't affected because you don't allow it to overwhelm you.
Exactly. So the key every day for me is reminding myself, control the controllables. When I was setting your phone up, I saw this little reminder that I guess comes off at like maybe 6 a.m. for you every day. Control the controllables. Control what it is you can't control. And in the moments that you don't act in the way that you want to, in a moment that you can control or something that you can control, again, that grace comes back. You got to give yourself that grace, but then do better next time. You have to,
because you can control your effort.
You can control your effort.
Right.
You can control what you're bringing to the table. And that doesn't mean that we always have the energy to do it all, but you can control how you're bringing things to the table, what you're bringing effort-wise all the time. I don't ever want anybody to be able to question my effort. They're like, I don't want to be here, but I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to treat others the way that I want to be treated, continue to reinforce those things, because what we're learning is now those moments where we're not where we want to be, those are the best moments for us to be practicing the things that we want to be doing in our life.
Yeah, because like when when everything's going good and you act like when you're comfortable, you can like it's easier to operate from. But when you're uncomfortable, you start to really learn about yourself and how much you've actually how much work you've actually done on something. Like, hey,
yeah, how strong that foundation is, or that habit is.
Like, how patient really am I after the work I've done over the last couple of years of patience? Like, yeah, when I go,
because you can still immediately go back to ground zero. Like,
yeah. Where you're
like the level
talked
one
about
where
default.
you just
we talked about like it's the gut reaction. It's what you've allowed yourself to be conditioned to be, and now you have to work towards tearing that down. But that's still going to kind of be there, And so, I mean, I find myself. I mean, easy examples are driving. Try not to get frustrated while driving. Going to a post office or some other store, and there's a huge line, and there's only one person checking out.
Think about it like this. So our buddy Charles, he's been boxing and has been putting in the work, and now I think it's been like twice where he's had a fight potentially coming up, and he's so ready to do it. Even the week of, he had a fight, and it ended up getting canceled.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, what do you do to keep going in these moments where you're just like, man, I'm working so hard and all I want to do is have this opportunity and it keeps getting taken away from me? And he says, I don't let how I feel stop me from doing the day in, day out things that I know that I need to be doing. So if there's certain habits and actions that I need to be doing to continue to realize my goal, then no matter how I'm feeling, I get through this workout. I do what I need to do. I put the work in.
So that him boxing is actually filling up his cup.
Right.
If he waited around to feel good to fill up his cup would never be full. He would never, if you wait around for the perfect moment to do things, there are fleeting moments where they're like, I feel all this motivation to be able to do it. But like, if that's something that like he knew that was pouring into him and like he enjoyed about his day, his life that he was doing right now was going to the gym and working out.
And I feel like we talked about it before where if I'm capable of changing in this moment, then I'm capable of changing in the future.
Yeah,
those types.
About the outcomes,
so, but it's the same type of thing with action, right? I want to be this type of person in the future, whatever that type of person is. I need to do that in this moment. I need to do that action, be that now. Don't have conditional action. Don't wait on things to, like you said, to be in perfect alignment so that you can do what you're trying to do. Because ultimately, life is there's so much more outside of your control that you're not going to be able to have the perfect moment to leap.
No,
you got to take that step of faith.
I mean, say you're making strides and then, say you lose a loved one. Those types of things are inevitable. There are things that are going to happen that are going to completely come and occupy your mind and your time.
And there'll be an opportunity to completely derail you.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of how you choose to continue to press forward.
Sure.
For me, the authenticity is in the action. Show me what you do and I'll show you what you believe type stuff.
I feel like I mentioned the Shel Silverstein quote about like that. The actions do.
If not, it might have been in one of the times we filmed.
Yeah, true. At this point, with all the different episodes, it's hard to really fully know,
especially after redoing the season and everything.
Yeah.
But anyways,
just the whole idea that your actions do a good enough job of telling the story. Your words actually muddy it up.
They do.
So like if you're over there being active, other people are going to see the fruit, right? They're going to see what you're doing, and that's good enough in itself.
Yeah, again, it all ties back into determining what it is you can control. Once you know what you can control, you focus on controlling the things you can control, and then the actions follow suit. And you have to be consistent in the actions. You have to be habitual in developing, intentional in developing the habits.
I basically brainwashed myself on these.
Yeah,
I got sticky notes everywhere. I got stuff written everywhere, man. And that thing that comes on my phone every morning has been going off for 2 years to remind me still, control the controllables. Control what you can control at the beginning of your day. And honestly, most of the time, I don't even like clear that reminder. I leave it there. So every time I open up my phone, it is there. Bang, control the controllables.
And I think it's doing like
also,
anything that
pay your Capital One bill. And then those are the things that come up above it. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
be intentional with whatever you do. You need for reminders.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to learn for yourself what's going to work. I mean, even now, I've got all these things written around, and I still find moments of inactivity and not moving forward. But I have those reminders. I have those like, hey, pay attention, don't forget. The whole idea is like these things are important. These things have been important to you. We go back and we found stuff that we've written like 7 years ago, and you're like, damn, like 23-year-old me, word up. And look at me, 30-year-old me is like, yeah, I'm still not even this way. So like, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting. It's an interesting life, and it's a beautiful thing, and you really get a lot of what you put into it. I say that with everything. If you want greatness, put in great work, put in great effort.
Yeah, and
that's to me, man, because if I want any kind of greatness, I've got to do great things. I've got to put in great work, and great work is a lot. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about this guy who built a business, and he was like literally working 20-hour days specifically on that. He'd come into the office, work, go home, read, write, do all these kind of things specifically for that work, and like would do it, like come back the next day and beat them to the office, dog tired possibly, but still building and growing. And now, I mean, multi-million-dollar business that they've built. Like it's crazy. It blows my mind because like we really think about the end result too much, and don't focus on controlling yourself and your actions and the effort you're putting in through the process builds the consistency.
Yeah, and the only way you actually get to that end result is by doing the things in the present moment to get to that result. Like nobody sees the work that goes behind so much of these athletes. What goes into them going out each and every day and playing their sport and doing the thing, competing at a high level. Artists and musicians, all these things.
Olympic athletes.
Absolutely.
Every 4 years, you get to see these brief moments of greatness where it's like you have no idea the mental anguish that went into it.
The training day in and day out, the action, the habits, the commitment to it.
It's crazy. It's crazy, the challenges that come.
Yeah, but the ultimate realization for them and even to compete on those levels is they're willing to put in the action. They're willing to put in the work. The desire continues to fuel them. They find, for me, I got to continue to build those habits. And in order to keep my vision in the right spot, I've said it before, but like gratitude was that reminder. And then I try to be grateful for the action when I have the action, because it almost continues to reinforce all of these, positive cycles that I'm trying to move forward.
There's this interesting quote, and I'm definitely using my own words on this, but it's basically like, the hungrier you are, the clearer your mind is, but the more susceptible you are to smells of food.
Okay.
So like you're more like when you're hungry, like you can have these amazing like, all right, this is what I need to do or whatever like that, but you're also more tempted. You can also get driven to another path really quickly because like you're hungry. It's like, damn, that pie smells really good.
Absolutely. And for me, I think the action, staying consistent and doing the action part, actually changing your habits and whatever you need to do to continue to build towards what you're trying to go, the ownership that you're trying to build, those types of things are adding more gasoline to the fire.
It builds to the sustainable
Absolutely.
stuff that you want and not the fleeting, I just ate 4 pieces of pie and now the pie is gone. Or 8, depending on how big
and
the
I was
slices
so
of pie
looking forward
is,
to that pie or whatever.
Exactly. But then it's gone and then now you're like, dang, this is where I wanted to be. So it's, it's crazy because once you really let go that grip on the things that you can't, once you really recognize in your life what you're trying to control,
I've felt
what you
more
can't.
free.
Oh my gosh.
Because I try to consistently remind myself about
absolutely
what's in my control.
And it goes back to even the ownership of like, we were looking like, hey, there's all this stuff outside that we want to change. That's the stuff that we can't control. Like
Right.
That's the stuff that overwhelms us.
I can control the
because we can't.
change in my life.
Exactly. And honestly, you'll start feeling more encouraged and driven when you start taking that control of your life. I feel like in my experiences, I've started to get a little bit more energy when it's like, yeah, like I'm controlling the effort I'm putting in on this or whatever.
Well, I think on
you can
some
get distracted.
level,
It's really easy.
I think on some level, acting out the life that you want to live and that you internally have decided for yourself that you want to live, acting that out does some sort of cup filling, like in and of itself. Even though you may physically be tired, you're like, but I lived authentically. I lived how I want to live. I continue to do the things. And you got to encourage yourself along the way. That's one of the reasons I'm so grateful to have you in my life, is because we encourage each other along those paths. But you're right. When you're putting in the work and the effort, it's so easy to get distracted because the vision may seem so far off.
Well, right.
Or
And
the
most-
end result may seem so far off.
Right.
And we can get discouraged. Discouragement almost ties into my hypocrisy.
Well, exactly. And honestly, the discouragement is what's there to, the discouragement is mostly in things that you cannot control.
Absolutely.
Most of the time. There's still going to be those moments where like, hey, you find discouragement because like, man, I'm not doing enough.
Again, an event that happened in life.
But
that
still,
you couldn't
most
control
of the
it.
discouragement that you'll find along your way will be things that are out of your control. It's like, man,
And then
if
it's
I,
up to you to determine what to do.
exactly.
Now.
I mean, and even just the way that we get, like everything that we see nowadays seems to be negative. And if we focused on everything that we see nowadays, we'd never get anywhere. I was about to say never get nowhere. But like just that whole idea is like, man, like things out of your control that are bad are going to happen. There are people in this world who are hungry. I hate that. But ultimately, if like, unless I wanted to get into like the sector of, hunger or things like food, like feeding people and things like that. I mean, we talked about being overwhelmed with everything. I think we even mentioned the tears at a funeral line.
John Belly and
the
so
hand
on,
of God. Just the whole idea is like, man, you're angry at the things that you cannot change. You're angry at all the things that are out there that are messed up, and you want to do something about it. But ultimately, what we realize is like, we just have to do something about ourselves first. And then you'll come to find when you're consistent.
There'll be opportunities to create
exactly
grander change. There'll be opportunities to engage with the community, because if you as an individual, I'm a full believer that if you as an individual take ownership of your life and you start to live in an authentic fashion and you give people the space to be their authentic selves while you're running your race, contribute to the race of others, that type of thing, you will attract and connect with other people who are doing
like-minded
that.
individuals,
Like-minded individuals, and it will generate snowballs of change here and there. A ripple creates, or a little pebble creates a massive amount of change. A little drop over time on a rock causes a hole.
I mean, just think about our times with GU in Sri Lanka and just the people that we got to interact with, and like how much energy we got just from hearing these people talk about what they were doing with their life, or trying to do with their life, or what they saw, what they were passionate about. It's incredible. So yes, when you're going to cross paths with people when you're doing things like that are doing some amazing things. And I mean, we see it on social media and stuff too. Like we see people out there who are doing great things.
Right.
And we just got to recognize, hey man, we can do equally great things where we are right now.
Yeah. We don't have to wait for things to be the right conditions or whatever job you're at or whatever. Right now is the time. Mm-hmm. Right now is the time for me. If my future self if I want something for my future self, if I want a certain type of life, if I want to operate a certain way, I've got to be doing things in this moment right now. I've got to be taking the action that I need to take, controlling the things that I can control, my response, my attitude, my effort, doing these things consistently.
Not from a pedestal.
Not from a pedestal at all. Actually, trying to never allow yourself to get to that pedestal, because the moment you do that is the moment you take your hand off of what you can control. Mm-hmm. Because if you're up on a pedestal,
well, you've moved your attention away from yourself to telling other people how they need to do their stuff.
So,
like you said, the actions do enough to tell people.
They do. Your actions will define your legacy. I probably will say that over and over again for the rest of my life. Your actions will define your legacy. Your actions are your story. And so be intentional with how you want to act. Be intentional with changing the habits, whatever that looks like. Determine for yourself what you can control and what's not in your control, and be willing to let go of what you can't control.
It's a process.
It's a process, and it's not easy. I still find days where I'm weighed down by things that are out of my control. But then I have these other days on the in-between where I'm continuing to grow, where I let go of it and I feel free. Be consistent in it. Control what you can control. Put the work in. Put the action in. Change the habits. Do whatever you can, and realize it's never going to be a straight line.
No, man. It's always crooked.
It's always crooked.